right, hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending this panel. We're really happy to be starting off the workshops today with youth equity and bike advocacy. My name is Dorothy Le, and I'm part of the steering committee of the Biking Public Project in New York City, and I'll speak a little bit more about this, but let me tell you a little bit more about the panel itself. We have a range of really excellent speakers talking about, the theme of this was kind of projects that are sprung from and inspired by the Youth Bike Summit. The Youth Bike Summit is a really great place for many different people from various backgrounds, interests, intersecting along the lines of youth bicycling, development, advocacy, arts, etc. So some of these projects that we're going to be speaking about today, for example, Clement Chen is going to be speaking about local spokes. That kind of idea came from the ideas of the Youth Bike Summit, as well as Biking Public Project. I'll talk a lot about it more when I speak about the project itself, but it was actually conceived at the 2012 Youth Bike Summit. So this is actually our, I guess, second year conception anniversary, so that's exciting. And then Marissa and Shacora are going to be speaking about the Girls Ride Club at Westtown Bikes based in Chicago. And they've been attending the Youth Bike Summit from the beginning. So they can speak about how the Youth Bike Summit inspires their work. And then Adonia, to round it out, Adonia will speak about the national bike equity movement and what kind of inroads and progress we've made nationally, and what kind of work we'll all need to work together to do to make progress. And then Diego will be our last speaker, and he will speak about the Street Kings Youth Bike Initiative, a really exciting new initiative, and he's a lot of things. He's a bike advocate, he's an organizer, he's a messenger, racer, and works with youth. So he'll talk about all that and finish off, and then we'll have time for some questions and discussion and go from there. So hopefully this panel will be inspirational, informative, and you'll get some ideas. And if you want to work with us or start your own or continue to support the youth equity and bicycle movement. All right, so with that, I'm going to take off my moderator hat and speak on the Biking Public Project. My name is Dorothy Le, and I'm on the steering committee of the Biking Public Project. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, so I'm like speaking really fast. Anyway, the two members of our steering committee are here, also Helen and Mario. So raise your hands, because it's really exciting to have you here. And I wanted to thank Anthony, because he is our slide mover and shaker. So thank you, Anthony. He's also part of Local Spokes, and Clement will talk about him. Talk into the mic. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, all right, let's flash back to 2010 in Washington, D.C. at the National, who was there in Washington, D.C. at the National Bike Summit in 2010? All right, so just a few people, Randy and Helen. I was actually there as well. I'm from Los Angeles. I used to work for the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition. And I'm sure the people who were there, Helen and Randy and I, we noticed who's missing out of this picture. It's probably pretty obvious, but women, people of color, and youth. People under 30. People, right, and exactly. So actually, it's pretty obvious to the attendees also, because they affectionately call themselves mammals, men, middle-aged men in Lycra. So, you know, it's definitely an aware, you know, it's something that the group is aware of. But Helen, and I noticed there was an issue. I didn't really do much about it at the time, but Helen brought in her our Recycle a Bicycle interns, and she noticed, you know, really an issue there. There's a sort of lack of representation amongst the diversity of cyclists that we see on the streets. So there's also a lack of representation of youth. So Helen and a bunch of other people decided to start the Youth Bike Summit. So that's where we're here today. This is a picture from, I think, 2012. And it was to bring youth to a space like the National Bike Summit, to bring together youth and to really engage and put forth the youth bicycling movement on a larger scale. So from the Youth Bike Summit, as I alluded to before, in 2012, there's the third day, Sunday, so tomorrow there's a visioning space from 10 to 2, and that's where a lot of really great ideas can happen and get implemented. And that in that visioning space, Helen and some other co-founders of the Biking Public Project thought, well, so we have a youth bike summit, this is great, we have space for youth, more space needs to be made, but gosh, we still don't really have adequate representation from people of color, delivery cyclists, immigrants, especially in the national biking movement. Maybe there's smaller spaces, but definitely not there. So I think one of the facilitators of that visioning session said, okay, well, you can't just complain, you have to do something about this. So out of thin air, Helen said, okay, I'm gonna start a bicycle group that addresses these issues. And then she thought, crap, I need people to work with me on this. So anyway, that was the conception of Biking Public Project, and this is our mission. So it's been 2 years. So we presented last year at the Youth Bike Summit, and I don't really want to repeat a lot of the work that we've done, but basically we sort of embarked upon a surveying and outreach and photography project, basically finding out the needs of a certain community and highlighting the diversity of cyclists around New York City. We started off by surveying and taking pictures of cyclists all throughout the 5 boroughs. And then in the second, that was the first year. And in the second year, we realized that with our capacity as well as with the community connections that we had a lot of community connections in Jackson Heights, Queens. And that is a very diverse neighborhood in Queens, and Queens is also one of the most, arguably, or the most diverse borough in New York City, which is a very diverse city. So we thought that because of our community capacity as well as competency in Queens, we were going to focus on Jackson Heights, Queens, and then go from there so that we would be doing more sort of focused work. So these are some pictures from some of our outreach in Jackson Heights, Queens. And also coinciding with the fact that we had a number of community connections in Queens, Jackson Heights, Queens, and Queens in general has an inequity in terms of bicycle facilities. So New York City has made some really amazing strides to increase the number of bicycle infrastructure in the city, and also with the new bike share. But Queens and Jackson Heights, this Jackson Heights, it only has one, the green line is the only bike lane that exists in Jackson Heights. And there's a lot of cyclists there. You could see now with the broader sort of New York City map, there are a lot of bike facilities in Manhattan. There are a few some in the Bronx, in the downtown Brooklyn and northern Brooklyn. But you could see it's sort of a donut hole. I mean, there's just nothing in Queens. There's some in Astoria. So basically, the closer to Manhattan and Brooklyn you get, the more bike facilities you have. But Queens just really is lacking. So there is sort of a intersectionality between the communities that we could work with, as well as the lack of bicycle facilities that exist. Again, bike share stations. There are no bike share stations in Queens itself. They're only located in Manhattan and Brooklyn currently. So, when you start a project, it's important that you leverage the partnerships and work with communities and organizations that that have connections with the community itself. So we've been able to utilize this and leverage all the types of resources and partnerships. So IOB, which actually they're speaking later today, I think, on development and fundraising, they're a really great crowdsourcing group that allows smaller groups to raise funds. So in a matter of 30 days, we're able to crowdsource and raise over $6,000 for the group, and I think a vast majority of those funds were from people who donated $35 or less. So we could tell there was a demand for this type of work. And we work with the existing advocacy groups because we realize that we don't want to necessarily replicate or duplicate the really amazing work that happens currently. We really just want to complement as well as shed light to some of the issues that maybe current advocacy groups could work on, or just partner with the existing advocacy groups that exist. And then with government as well, we worked with NYC DOT to our first initial outreach steps were with, in conjunction with New York City DOT. Working at cultural organizations and business improvement districts, doing a lot of work with them. So we embarked upon, so what I kind of mentioned before was that one of our main projects, our first projects, was the biking portrait project, which basically the idea was to take pictures of diverse cyclists to highlight the diversity in our cyclists existing right now. So what better way to do that than literally take pictures of them and then display them around publicly around the city. Okay, and then the second part of our work was to do a survey and a community outreach to understand the needs and the issues that exist amongst such cyclists. So in 2013, we embarked upon a very focused type of outreach activity in Jackson Heights, Queens. We did six events, and we surveyed over 150 cyclists and also community members. And some of the results are pretty interesting. One thing we wanted to know is how much these cyclists are spending on transportation, and a good amount of them are spending less because they're bicycling, or they maybe have less capacity to be able to afford other means of transportation. We also, is kind of an obvious thing, if you are looking for diverse cyclists, you're going to get diverse cyclists. So if you're focusing on that, you'll get it. So because we were able to have multilingual outreach, we were able to capture over 24 countries represented in our surveying, and a vast majority of our people who we surveyed know more than one language, more than just English at home. Also, there's what's great about talking with cyclists is that we have one thing in common is we enjoy cycling. And why do people cycle? Whoever you talk to, most people want to cycle because of fun and health, no matter what their income level or their heritage or background. I mean, that's a really binding thing, that we all love cycling because it's fun, it's healthy. Even the delivery cyclists that we talked with, we thought maybe they would say that they cycle because it's affordable, or they cycle because they have to, because they work. But actually, all of them said they cycle because they enjoy it and they would like to be outdoors and they're having fun. Of course, it's their means of vocation as well. So that's obviously another layer. But I thought that was a really uniting finding that we had. And then lastly, we wanted to ask if people felt like they had decision-making power in their community. And most people said no, but they did. The one hopeful thing is they said that if they work in groups, or if they felt like they had more power when they worked in a group. So that was a really good finding that we can jump from. All right, so what are our next steps? So right now we're working on a zine, a small magazine, to document some of the work that we've done. Outreach, as you may know, takes a lot of energy and time, and we want to be able to, from our initial outreach, I mean, we could continue to do outreach, and we would probably be able to find a lot of really amazing information. But what we kind of wanted to do when we started was start a project that really engages with current groups and tries to inform such groups through data as well as through leadership training. So we're hopefully creating a zine which documents our efforts so far. We'd like to present or have that zine available to be published by the National Bike Summit, which is March 3rd through 5th, and we'll have it online and all that. And then also, we would like to train leaders from within the communities that we surveyed, as well as within existing advocacy groups, on working with diverse communities. And then lastly, we would like to work on the local level, inform some sort of local community work, and reform some of the efforts. So, for example, community boards, that they're kind of an important local, the first rung of a local government. They primarily engage with homeowners, as well as people who may not be like newcomers to the neighborhood. So we'd like to try to reform such some of the requirements for being community board members, to engage with younger people, to engage with newcomers to the neighborhood, to engage with people of color. And then if you want any more information about our group, there you have it. We're pretty active on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can always find me. I'm really easy to talk with, so you can talk to me. And then there's Helen and Mario. So thank you. So now we're gonna, I'm taking off my speaking hat and putting on my facilitator hat, and so Adonia is gonna inform us on the exciting work that the national biking movement is doing.
So I'm Adonia Lugo, and I am the Equity Initiative Manager at the League of American Bicyclists. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what the Equity Initiative is doing, and also give you a little perspective on where I'm coming from. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I study bicycling, and I've been involved in the bike movement since 2008. I did a lot of work around biking in Los Angeles. It's actually where I met Dorothy. She was one of the first bike advocates I ever met, so it's pretty exciting to me to be here in 2014 on a panel moderated by Dorothy, because she's one of my mentors. And do we have, okay, so the Equity Initiative at the League of American Bicyclists was started up in late 2012 by a few people who were within the organization and got to be thinking about this issue of how come we don't have more diversity in the room. And then there was a catalyst who showed up and really got things going, a guy named Hamza Sani, who actually is in the room right now over in the corner. And so people started talking at the League about what they could do to address this problem that others had noticed, and that groups like Biking Public Project and Youth Bike Summit and different places were thinking about trying to solve. And so the first thing that the Equity Initiative did was formed something called the Equity Advisory Council. So this is a body of people who are bike advocates and do work with youth and women and communities of color around the country. And we have a few EAC members in the room. Helen is one of them. I was one of them. Hamza, of course, is one of them. And is Neil in here? No, Neil Walker is also here at the summit, and he's another of our EAC members. And Dorothy actually is our newest member, so that's pretty cool. So what we do as the Equity Advisory Council is talk about the problem. So what is the problem? Okay, we don't see enough diversity in bicycling. We don't see enough support for outreach to different types of communities in bicycling, in bicycle advocacy rather. So what can we do to solve that problem? So this term equity that we're using, if you're not familiar with that, we came up with a working definition as a group of what that meant for us. And so as the EAC, we define equity as the guarantee of fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all, while at the same time striving to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of certain groups. And it goes on like that. I don't think I'll read the whole thing because you guys won't be able to hear me while I'm turned to the screen. But the idea of equity is that we need to be thinking about the outcomes of advocacy work. What is going to be the end point? What communities are going to be served by the projects that we're advocating for and designing? And so it's really trying to kind of put the different pieces of the puzzle together. What's on the next slide? So again, we recognize that participation from diverse groups is important to building advocacy strategies that serve a broad range of Americans. So League of American Bicyclists has decided that we need to do a little more to ensure that when we say we're representing the interests of all Americans using bikes, potentially using bikes, we need to be making sure that our work actually reaches a wide range of people. So how do we do that? How do we reach more people? So the problem, as I see it, in terms of why there aren't more people of color, women, youth in the room, is something that relates to some urban history in the United States and the fact that we've had very divided communities for a very long time. And what we saw in, there were some really great gains that were made in terms of desegregation and the Civil Rights Movement, Civil Rights Act, all this great stuff. Unfortunately, Americans still chose to live in segregated communities, and we have now this kind of crisis that's been building in terms of more people moving back to cities and rediscovering, oh, there were some people here all along who didn't move to suburbs. And we're starting to see some kind of cultural clashes between people who have been in urban neighborhoods for a long time and have a real sense of place and ownership over the places they live in, and people who are now starting to move back or starting to kind of come up with some, innovative ways to change the built environment. And what we're seeing is that people don't have a shared opinion on things like bike infrastructure. So for bike advocates, bike infrastructure is this really great thing that's going to, get more people bicycling, improve community health. It's super positive. But unfortunately, on the other side of things, if you're in a community that has seen repeatedly cities investing in other places, or cities, letting you have bear the brunt of pollution and things like that, why would you automatically trust this new municipal thing coming in to your neighborhood? And so this is a real divide. We're seeing that people don't have the same cultural meanings associated with bicycling and bike infrastructure. So what I've worked on as an anthropologist is looking at, okay, so if we've got this kind of divide between how people are thinking about bike infrastructure, what can we do to change the way that we produce our streets? So I started thinking about how a lot of bike advocacy is oriented toward policy and making change through policy. So if we change the street, then that's going to change the way people use the street. And the way you change the street is you go to City Hall, you go to the Capitol, you go and you get policymakers to shift their priorities to funding the projects that you want to see. Another way of looking at things is, what if we build a cultural consensus among ourselves, and then as a group we go to City Hall and say, this is the way we're using streets now, and you need to support it and make it better for everybody. So that's really a tension that I see in bike advocacy, is really, how do we take this kind of top-down world of advocacy and infuse it with the energy from the grassroots and people who are doing really cool stuff around bicycling right now. And there is a lot of culture change happening around bikes all over the country. You guys know about it because you're doing it. We have the Major Taylor Association, which has Major Taylor bike clubs all over the place. We have community rides like Red Bike and Green, Ovarian Psychos in Los Angeles with their clitoral masks. All kinds of different groups are coming together around bicycling, and they're not changing themselves to fit the bike, they're changing bicycling to fit their communities. And there's really exciting stuff happening. So the League has been working to kind of legitimize the reality of, yeah, bicycling's changing, the face of bicycling is changing, and we need to be making sure that as advocates, we're actually representing what's going on the ground. So we released this report, The New Majority, The Changing Face of Bicycling, this spring. And it's been making some interesting waves in policy and around the country, so that's pretty cool. Next one. And then Devlin Chen, who is our invisible panelist who couldn't make it today, took the lead on doing a report specifically about engaging youth in bicycle advocacy. And you can get both of these reports on the League's website, bikeleague.org. And what Devlin did with this project was really cool. She did a joint internship with local folks, right? And the League, or was it Biking Public Project?
It was Recycle a Bicycle.
It was Recycle a Bicycle. Okay, she did a joint internship with Recycle a Bicycle and the League, and did surveys with other youth ambassadors doing bike stuff in New York, and came up with some really good ideas for ways that advocacy organizations can listen to youth better. So what is bike equity? Bike equity is connecting grassroots bike culture with the professional subculture of bike advocacy. And you people are the ones who are making that happen, and I feel like it's my job as an advocate to be making sure that we connect. We're the human infrastructure between what's happening at the policy level and the real exciting cultural change that's happening on the ground. So I feel super fortunate that I got to give you guys this little theory spiel in the middle of hearing a great example about Biking Public Project and some more great examples about the really cool stuff that you guys are doing with bikes. So thanks.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2014 Youth Bike Summit. My name is Clement Chen, Youth Ambassador for Local Spokes, a program where youth can learn about biking and visit places all over the city. And I'm here today to tell you about my experience that I had with the program for the past 2 summers. Since today I'll be focusing on what we worked on this past summer, I will just share with you one moment from the summer of 2012. This is me right here. This is a poster I made to promote bike safety. Yeah, some of you already get the reference. Salmoning is a bike term for cyclists riding their bikes against traffic or against the stream. And I made a little poster right here. Since the bears eat salmon, I've had the bear as a policeman, and he's stopping the salmon from going upstream, or, yeah. Okay, fast forward to the 2013 summer. This is our first day in the program. We went to the East River Amphitheater, which is right near the local spoke center. And here we planned out future destinations we had for that summer. Okay. One of the locations we went to was the 6BC Botanical Community Garden. We learned about how community gardens help make the city beautiful. Wendy Barr, the founder and director of Green Map System, showed us around the garden. In the Lower East Side Ecology Center, we learned about composting at the. We learned about composting and how compost. You can use your You can use your food scraps from dinner, or that's an apple core. You can use stuff like that to turn into really, really good compost to help trees grow and stuff. Like what stuff compost does. Okay. After that, we went to recycle a bicycle in Dumbo. We rode our bikes. We rode our bikes across the Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge, back and forth. And when we got there, we learned how to take apart old bikes for spare parts. Yeah. In the slide 6, we screen printed posters and T-shirts about biking at Hester Street Collaborative with the help of Shelma, Jun, and Dylan House. Okay. We finished off the 2013's Local Spokes summer program by having a gallery party with our friends and family to show off the art we made. And yeah, that's me. Oh wait, yeah, that's me presenting, smiling. Okay, and in December we met up. We met up again after the program ended, and Dorothy was nice enough to invite us to dinner at Kanji Village, and yeah, we just talked about how life was going, and yeah. Unfortunately, my sister Delvin could not make it today, so I'm here to read off one of her important slides. This is 10 rules. It was part of the survey she gave to us. She asked us about rules she asked us about how adults can work better with youth, and how adults can work better with youth and bicycling. So we gave her our input, and we came up with these 10 rules to better engage with youth. One of the most important ones was don't assume teens have nothing to offer. Okay, with that being said, the program could not have happened without the youth ambassadors and the program staff and all the organizations and people involved. I would like to give a special thanks to my cousin Anthony, who helped me with this slide. If you can see in the corner in very fine print, yeah, Anthony did most of the work. Also, let's give thanks to Dorothy, who gave us advice. We talked a couple of times on Skype. We had group meetings, and yeah, this is I had a really great summer with Local Spokes, and I hope this can continue and Local Spokes Youth Ambassador Program can grow.
So I'm not very familiar with Local Spokes, but I'm wondering, how did you hear about the program, and how did you become a youth ambassador? Like, is there some sort of selection process?
Well, I'm not sure if it's like advertised, but I found out from my sister, who joined the program in 2011, and in 2012 I decided to go in, and 2013 I joined again for a second year.
Well, that's a really good question, but we'll just hold the questions to the end, and I'll address that as well. I'll keep it, yeah, but those are good questions. So we're gonna move on to more local examples from Chicago. So Shacora and Marissa will talk about Westtown Bikes and the Girls Bike Club.
Hello? Is this is it not?
No, that's not.
Oh. Okay, hello? All right. So hi, I'm Marissa, and this is Shacora. And we're two members of Girls Bike Club. We're part of Westtown Bikes. Girls Bike Club is a program within Westtown Bikes that is an all-girl youth bike group, and we meet on Wednesdays. And Shacora is one of the main founders of Girls Bike Club. I've been in Girls Bike Club for 2.5 years now, and yeah, she's going to talk about foundation.
So I'm going to give you guys some history of Girls Bike Club. It first started when a couple of us girls were doing an apprenticeship through West Town Bikes, and we were trying to tackle the issue of how to engage more girls with bikes. So we came up with having a bike fashion show, and we thought that that would attract a lot of ladies. We thought the main issue that young ladies weren't riding bikes was because they didn't think that like that biking was dirty maybe, and like they didn't think you can still be cute and ride your bike. So that was like our thing. You can still be cute and ride your bike. So in the process of planning the fashion show, we decided we met weekly. So, and it was on Wednesdays, I believe. So we decided to call it Girls Bike Club because we met every week and we were trying to plan the fashion show. So the fashion show didn't end up happening that year, but it did happen a year later. And it was really good. It went really successful. So we did that again 2012. We did it again. Oh, no. That was the first time in 2012. Then we did it in January of this year, so last month. It went really well again. So Girls Bike Club started from trying to plan a fashion show. And yeah, that's a little bit of the history.
I got involved in Girls Bike Club through Shacora. We go to the same school, and she just one day was like, oh, you should come to this thing that I do. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. That's cool, though. And 2.5 years later, we still meet every Wednesday. And the main things we focus on now, aside from the fashion show, which has become our yearly big event to raise money and stuff like that, we do a lot of rides and work in our community garden. We talk to a lot of local female business owners. A woman named Maria who owns her own company called Pocampo, and they make cycling bags that are also like for like business, like they double as like really nice like purse bags, and then they go into cycling bags. And she gave us a lot of advice and was a good mentor. And then another woman named Erin makes her own cycling caps, and she helped us a lot in making cycling caps, which is now our main means of fundraising. And we also have a workshop upstairs if you guys are interested in that. What else do we do now?
Oh, okay. So we're also in the process of, we already submitted our application. So we applied for a MICVA mini grant, and with that money, if we get it, we're going to use it to make our own garden along the side of our bike shop. We're planning on doing a raised bed garden, and we already have a couple gardens within our neighborhood, and we tend them in the summer. We use them for picnics and barbecues and stuff. So, yeah.
So our main goals, and in the future we plan on, because a lot of us are going to be graduating, going off to college, and we can't really be in Girls Bike Club anymore because we will not be little girls. But our main methods of recruiting people have been through Heels on Wheels. We met another group in Chicago called Bikes and Roses, and another group called Blackstone. And it's crazy because Chicago, like New York is really big, but Chicago is really big too, and it's a lot of new like similar programs are starting up all over, and we've been networking with them, and that's really exciting for us. We are planning to have a all youth female ride in the springtime called Lady Mass, which is similar to Critical Mass in Chicago, and that would be us hoping to recruit a lot of young females to come to Girls Bike Club and kind of like fill the space when a lot of us graduate and move out of the city and all of that. So those are some things that we're looking forward to in the future, and yeah.
Really great initiative. Thank you. All right. All right, now Diego's going to take it home and talk about, close it out.
I'm assuming most of us are cyclists, so we're active people. Let's all just stand up. We've been sitting down for a while.
Yeah.
Shake it out. Smooth, get that energy flowing. That's what we're all about. When you're ready, grab a seat. I'm sure that felt really good.
If you want, I mean, you could use this mic and we could keep standing if that's something that you want to do.
Nah, I'm
No,
good.
you're good? Okay.
I had a little bit of a spill yesterday, that's what my hand is.
And Jay, make sure you speak into the mic.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, can you guys hear me? Is this good? All right. Amazing things happen when you show up, when you leave your house, when you open yourself up to just being out in the world. And my experience in cycling have really done that for me and have introduced me to some really amazing people and opportunities to grow in the city, to begin some projects that I'm really excited to share with you guys today, and hopefully get some people interested in collaborating in the future and what we're building. Again, my name is Diego. I work with Transportation Alternatives as a bike ambassador, uptown organizer. I'm also a messenger. I currently work with Postmates. I used to work with Street Kings NYC, which is now Dutch Express. So very active in the bike world. I also love urban racing. Alley Cats, anybody? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of fun there. So, you know, I'm almost never not riding unless it's like really bad. This has been a pretty brutal winter, and some of us have decided to stay in and do other things. But what I want to share with you guys today is this initiative called the Youth Urban Bike Initiative, which I've begun to network with people and build up. And what it is, it's an opportunity to share with young people in the inner city all the benefits of cycling beyond just a recreational activity. One of the main obstacles that I've come across in my neighborhood, I live in East Harlem, uptown. We have the most public housing in all of New York City. We just recently acquired 2 bike lanes running down 1st and 2nd Avenues from 125th to 96th Street. So infrastructure is happening, and we're looking for more and more opportunities to engage young people to hit the streets. How many people here like saving money? How many people here have health goals? Right? So how many people here are conscious about the environment and want to help, mitigate the damage we're doing, right? How many people here like to go shopping? So, I mean, I ask these questions and they're pretty obvious, and there's a lot of excitement around them because these are all things we already do. And biking is a wonderful way to tie this all together. And in our neighborhoods, we have, a lot of youth who are not necessarily leaving their communities to explore and really engage their city. One of the first things that I noticed in becoming a cyclist is how small the city started to feel. As a child, my parents would take me down to like Herald Square, and that felt like an eternity away when you would go shopping down there, or Chinatown or Brooklyn. Like, these areas felt so far to me. But when I started riding in the city, I noticed how quickly I could get around and how much money I started saving. I remember when I first became a messenger, a $10 MetroCard lasted me 3 months. That's a pretty big deal because $2.50 a ride, $10 MetroCard lasting 3 months. That's how little I was riding the train. So for a lot of us who have challenges in affording MetroCards, because in New York City it's really expensive to travel, who want to see other neighborhoods, messenger work, biking became a gateway to really rediscover my city in a big way. When I became a messenger, picking up packages from clients all over the city in architecture, in legal, in fashion, all over the business world, you begin to enter environments that expose you to markets that exist, to people who are professional, who you might become inspired by. And simply by showing up to a building and delivering a package, I ran into somebody that I knew by chance and had a conversation and discovered Transportation Alternatives because I just happened to be in that building, which then led me to talk to the people there who were doing this great work that landed me a job as a bike ambassador that then begun my growth into the cycling advocacy world. So I saw that opportunity as something that I wanted to share because I'm a strong believer in that when doors open for you, it's really important to hold those open for other people. And my work with youth before that involved an organization called the Andrew Glover Youth Project. They deal with teenagers who are facing incarceration for felonies, but they're teenagers, so they're looking for ways to give them a second chance. And in working with them, in working with a martial arts meditation program that I'm a part of, we're looking to collaborate and start in 2014 a program called the Youth Urban Bike Initiative, which offers basically that experience of riding in the city, of stress and anger management, of second chances to young people so that they can see their city for the first time in a big way, beyond just riding the train, going to school, going home. For a lot of young people, that's the existence. It's like you go home, you go to school, you go home, you go to school. And being on a bike and being exposed to this huge community of cyclists, of street races, of events, of whatever it is, really opens your eyes and gives you something to be excited about and to want to be a part of. And so that's what we're looking to build this year. And anybody who's interested in learning more about it, I'm here to talk, I'm here to network, and this is the year that we want to make it happen. So
let's give it up for all the presenters and Anthony just helping out as well. So hopefully you're inspired and have some questions. I know that Pascalina, the organizer, said that we're going to continue the same time for this session, and hopefully somehow it'll work out. So let's give, we allocated 15 minutes for questions and answers. So feel free. I'm going to answer the one woman's question about how youth, the local spokes, was able to outreach. I think the organizations that make up local spokes, it's 9 organizations that are based in Chinatown and Lower East Side. They have pretty good community relations with schools and the neighborhood groups around them, so they're able to use some of those connections to advertise to youth. But I think it's something, you know, that is sometimes a challenge, but I think it can be surpassed. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. Did anyone have any other questions? And we're going to try to speak into the mic when we repeat the question if the recording can't hear it. So, yeah. Yes.
I had another question for the Girls Bike Club, Chicago. So, you say you meet every Wednesday. I was just wondering, like, how long do you meet for? Is it an hour session? And what kind of things do you do in that time, especially in relation to the weather? Like, I'm sure that's something we deal with a lot. I'm representing Pittsburgh, just like by the way.
So the question, I'm just going to repeat the question. The question is that how the Westtown Bikes Girls Bike Club meets, how often they meet, and how do they manage with weather issues?
So we meet every Wednesday from around 4 to 4:30, and it ends about 6:30.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Like we start, like, and we wait for everybody to get in, so we're just socializing, and around before 5 is when the actual meetings start. And depending on the weather is, you know, what our meetings consist of, because usually around the winter time, that's our downtime. So we're usually inside, and that's where we're making most of our cycling caps. That's how we're getting our merchandise ready for the summer. And also, yeah, and for this. So, like in December and November, when it started getting really cold, is when we started planning Heels on Wheels. That's where a lot of the preparation for our annual fashion show happens. So in the summertime, we're always out, though. We're always at the beach or, you know, doing stuff. Yeah, gardening and stuff.
Yeah, basically what she said. Like, in the wintertime, we're just all kind of, like, wishing that we were outside. Sometimes we ride in the winter, like, but it's usually just, like, to go inside somewhere else. And then, yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, over there. And over here.
I have a question about, with each of these programs, what your percentages are between paid staff and volunteers, and how do you sustain your volunteers so that you're not constantly, I mean, obviously for the girls, they're having to replace because they're aging out and matriculating, going to university and stuff.
Okay, so the question was on the percentage of volunteers versus paid staff and how to sustain the level of volunteership with the program. Gosh, that's a. Do you want to take that or?
Sure.
Okay.
Our main facilitator, her name is Sarah Lorino, and she's completely a volunteer, and she's been with us for like 2.5 years now. And yeah, she's not paid. She comes every Wednesday out of the kindness of her heart, and like other days too. So I mean, it's really not like, we don't think about it as work, really, because we're just like, we like it and we like hanging out and we like doing stuff together. So it's good, but. At Westtown Bikes as a whole, besides Girls Bike Club, it's mostly volunteer based, and like when we age out, then we're like the volunteers who are, so like that's really how, like most of the volunteers at Westtown are former youth, so that's really easy for us.
And starting off as a volunteer is how you get jobs. Like in the summertime, we'll offer more jobs to the youth, so that's one of the incentives that we give them. So you volunteer now, and then later on you're able to get a job. A paid job,
And
yes.
then
Or
Helen's
apprenticeship or something.
Helen's going to answer some of the capacity. Do you want to hold the mic?
So for the Biking Public Project, we're an all-volunteer organization right now. And our goal is not necessarily to become a nonprofit or to be a formal organization. It's more like that we want to become a third party, right? Because getting equity and diversity in biking organizations is not something that just one organization should work on. It's something that every single person in this room, every single person in the bike advocacy world and the biking world needs to work on. And so we want to provide resources and give tips, tricks, and best practices so that we can all incorporate equity and access for bicycles for everyone into this work. So hopefully we'll phase ourselves out quickly, more quickly than we can organize into a formal organization.
Okay. And then in the middle, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was curious. I know you all said you were aging out of the Girls Bike Club. I was curious if there's an age range, like a lower age range, and then also when you're out doing activities or rides, is it just you all out, or are you out with facilitators or other mentors?
So the question was, just to repeat, is there an age range with the group for the Girls Bike Club, and then is there a facilitator that accompanies the group?
So our youngest member, well, I don't want to say she's our youngest because right now our youngest active member is my cousin. She's 11. She's really little, yeah. So she's so annoying. Oh my gosh, and I hope she's watching this. But yeah, she's awesome. So she's always like so hyper and ready to just move around and do stuff. So it's pretty nice to have, and then what's that called? We're like getting her ready to be, like us. And but Lester's daughter.
Oh yeah.
And so one of our adult instructors of Westtown Bikes, he just had a baby and she was in our fashion show. She's 1, so we like to call her a Girls Bike Club member. She rocks our gear and stuff. But our youngest active member is 11 years old. And when we go out.
Oh yeah, on trips it's usually we usually have an adult facilitator there, but sometimes it's just us and Nani. Sometimes we just go to the park but like usually adults want to come with us if we're going. They're like, oh, we'll go too, So it's like it's a wide variety, a wide range of ages, and that's kind of why I liked Girls Bike Club in the beginning, because I didn't feel like I was being talked down to by adults, even though there was like a lot of adults around. Like it seemed like everybody kind of was on the same level of.
And there was a question. Did you have a question, Lou?
Yeah, my question was for Shacora, Marissa, and Clement. How do you think that being in these activities, like the club and the local spokes, like how does that connect with what you see for your future? Like Diego gave the example, he ended up working in the area, like for his day job and probably lots of other stuff, but not everybody's going to do that, but it still can have a benefit connecting to your future job goals or family or whatever. What is it for you?
So the question is for Shacora, Marissa, and Clement, and how their bicycling activities and connects to their future, whether or not it's in bicycling or beyond.
When I go to college, I'm not going to have that much money, so I'll be living off ramen and just riding on bikes, so that's going to help me a lot,
Okay. Well, I have plans for art school, and I like to use the bike shop as an outlet for that. And so any way I can like do a flyer for an event, I always volunteer. I propose like art projects all the time, and if there's a lot of other artists at the bike shop, and if they ever need help, I'm like, oh, I'm here, they're just trying to like fit in that way as much as I can. And yeah, and plus no money ever, so riding my bike has helped me a lot, and I think it's gonna help me in the future. So
volunteering with Westtown and starting Girls Bike Club has like really opened my eyes, like what he was saying before. Cycling, when you cycle, like your world is like there's no limit anymore. Like at first it's just like so when I first started at Westtown volunteering, that's how like a lot of opportunities were handed to me, so I took them all. One of them was being a junior bicycle ambassador last year, so for the Chicago Department of Transportation. So I was riding like really like it was crazy, like as far north as Skokie, which is like the next city, and as far south as Indiana, which is the next state. So it was really cool. So I really loved it. And this year they've invited me to giving me the opportunity to become a bicycle ambassador. So I'm moving up. Also with planning, my favorite thing to do is like plan and organize fundraisers for Westtown and Girls Bike Club. So So that's something that I love doing. So I'm going to college this fall, and I plan on pursuing a degree in public relations and business communications. And I hope to use that to come back to Girls Bike Club and plan more events and get us out there, make us global. So, yeah.
Was there a question back? Yes.
Yeah, Diego, I was wondering if you could comment real fast on like a particular role that psych can play empowering youth that are incarcerated, especially like young men of color who are like facing that in East Oakland right now.
Great. So the question was, sorry, just to repeat, the question was how to engage bicycling and young people who are incarcerated or people who are incarcerated currently.
Finding partners, organizations that can engage them with things to do, and businesses that have opportunities for them to either volunteer or intern. One of the things that I like doing was having them shadow us. So if they have a bike, they can just ride with us. And just being out of their normal routine, the environments that usually have created those problematic situations that get them in trouble, by breaking those patterns and getting them out and just moving. You could do a lot like that. We partnered with Recycle a Bike. They just launched a bike mechanic training program. So just seeing opportunities where they pop up and playing a role where you're plugging people in. Because the Youth Bike Initiative is not an organization. It's really just myself and a couple of people who are connected to all these things that are happening all at once, and being able to show people the door, be like, hey, look, this is going on. You know, we'll walk you through it. We're gonna be here to support you. So there's different components, and really just being that centerpiece, you know, the hub, and having all these spokes reaching out and pulling people in to the different things that are out there. I don't know if that helps.
Okay, and then, yes.
So I love all of your programs. I'm noticing they're mostly for teenagers. Any thoughts about how to broaden the offerings to include early adolescents and even elementary school kids? And then one other question, how do you deal with the challenge of providing bicycles for kids who are too poor to afford their own?
Okay, so the two questions are how to incorporate younger people younger than teens, and also dealing with access issues for people who can't afford a bicycle. And then, yeah, let's speak into the mic, just as a reminder.
Well, Westtown Bikes has, they have programs within elementary schools, so they have after-school programs, and they go in during the day for some elementary schools. So that's one of the ways. And then we also have Bike Club, and that's more, well, they have both teenagers and elementary school kids in it. And Earn a Bike, we also have Earn a Bike, which is really in the summer. And once you put in a couple, you know, a certain amount of hours, you get a bike. So that's ways to get underprivileged kids bikes.
A model that
Diego, can you speak into the mic? Thank you.
Recycle a Bike offers classes for young people to build their bikes and keep them at the end of the program. So we've been promoting that a lot. I've also reached out to a couple companies that have been active in the Messenger and Alley Cat scene, that they sponsor events, they give prizes. So we've been looking for them to either give really deep discounts to us to acquire a small amount of bikes that we can then lend out or donate. So we're working on getting some donations.
Okay, we're going to take a few more questions. Yes, one in the back.
It was actually just to help with that last
Oh, yeah, of course. Gosh, do you want to take a mic? Sorry. So it's recorded.
I can just speak. Oh,
I think,
right.
yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks. There's a website and listserv called the Bicycle Think Tank that is a network of co-op organizers from all over the world, really, that probably many of us know about and many of us don't know about. And it's a good thing to proliferate the knowledge of. So a thing that comes up on the think tank quite frequently is Earn a Bike programs, and who has experience with them, and what are the pitfalls and pros and cons, and how do people work them. So that's a really good resource to tap into a body of knowledge and not have to start from square zero on that and a bunch of our other interrelated problems. So the Bicycle Think Tank. It's a listserv, it's got a website that is currently under attack, and but that's a suggestion.
Thank you so much. That was really great. I had no idea about the Bicycle Think Tank, so thank you. Oh, yes. Was there maybe one or two more questions? Was there another one? Yeah, sure. Yeah, perfect. Then I don't have to repeat them. Great. I should have thought of it before. We had this errant microphone.
I'm wondering about engaging community college students. I've got actually two community college students at my house. And my older son bikes to college for transportation. Well, he did. Now he's like transitioning to four-year school. But the younger boy doesn't want to bike because he sweats and he doesn't want to be like dirty all day. And It's not so easy to take a shower there. And when my older son began to go to school at this community college in Bergen County, so he biked all year. And at the beginning, there were only like 2 people that did that, but now there are like 20 that, you know, that bike. But it's still not accessible. You have to cross a main road. There's no easy way to get there. You know, there's lack of showers, lack of places to park your bike, you know, all these different things. And just the fact that, you know, it's easier to jump in a car, although some people can't even afford it. Some people are like commuting like 2 hours each way back and forth to that school.
That's a really good question about connecting with community colleges and having bicycle be accessible to community colleges. So that's and feel free if anyone in the audience has thoughts on that, that'd be great too.
I'm down in Fairfax County, and our central university that's right in Fairfax County is George Mason. And on George Mason University campus, they have a bicycle office, and they work with the safety office. And if you register your bike, they give you free lights and a free U-lock. And they are very proactive within the community because it is such a commuter university. So I would say for your sons or for other students, it comes from the students. If they go to the safety office and they demand, just like you all are you're learning to do with your advocacy programs, go and say, I'm here already, and this is what I intend to do, and what can you do to make it more open for everyone to do this? Because honestly, the universities are much more interested in keeping students of diverse income and diverse backgrounds. So you have a place at the table that maybe even 5 years ago wasn't open to you. They want to hear from you. So I would say just get in there and ask for it. And if they're iffy, get in there and show them the picture from the mammal picture and say, if you want to continue to look like this, then say no to me.
That's good advice. Any other community college? Yes.
Thanks. And I'm based in England and in a Midlands town there of about 300,000 people. And in that town and a number of other towns, the universities run bike hire. And that's exactly one of the answers to that. It's a semester at a time bike hire, very subsidized. The bike is yours, you need to look after it for the semester, but at the end of the semester, if you're traveling away, whatever, you give it back, you get your deposit back, and they look after the bike, get it serviced, and it's ready for the next student the next year.
And I work professionally as a campus bike ped coordinator for Rutgers University, and I do see, now that I've had this job, there's definitely an issue with, there needs to be more outreach to community colleges, because a lot of community colleges are located not in very, they're more like maybe more suburban, maybe lack access to certain resources, and also a lot of community college students may be more transitory, it's only 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think that's sort of I think what you brought up is definitely an issue, and I think that more work definitely needs to be done with that. So I know that the League of American Bicyclists has a bicycle-friendly university program, which sort of encourages and tries to support bicycle-friendly universities, and maybe one of the things they could do is, you know, focus more on community colleges and all that. So.
And just to add to that, one thing I should have mentioned, part of the equity initiative at the League of American Bicyclists is looking at the internal programs and trying to figure out how we can tweak them to do a better job of reaching more people. So like Bicycle Friendly University, what are we doing to do outreach at historically black colleges and universities, minority serving institutions, community colleges, because that's, I mean, I think that we're making some really clear links here, and so yeah, that work needs to be done. And one more thing I should have had in the presentation was that I've also started up an email listserv called the Bike Equity Network, and if anybody's interested in joining that, email me at adonia@bikeleague.org. And we have about 60 people on it now from around the country, but it's already turning into a really useful resource. So when we got an email at the League asking about bike share at historically black colleges and universities, we didn't know the answer to that, whether, you know, some school had set up a bike share on campus. But I sent that question out to the Bike Equity Network, and we had several answers within like an hour. So listservs are totally a great tool. The think tank is a really good example of that, just getting people to share knowledge and move this work forward.
Can you say your email again?
It's Adonia, ADONIA, @bikeleague.org.
So I feel like I'm keeping you all from lunch. So I know this is it's sort of running long, but if you do have any questions, we'll be here. We won't go to lunch immediately, so come up to us. And thank you so much for attending, and hopefully we'll continue this movement.